Welcome to the Summer Milspouse Series. I'm your host, Christine, a seasoned military spouse, marketing strategist, and mindset coach for military spouses. I put together this series for the summer since, number one, I'm personally in the middle of a PCS, and number two, because I wanted this summer to be about helping you practically change your life as a military spouse. This entire summer, we are walking through my favorite tool for self-discovery and transforming your life as a military spouse. If this is your first time joining us, I recommend that you start with episode 208, our kickoff to the series. But if you are just curious about this particular topic and this episode, then by all means start here, because this topic is near and dear to my heart and I cannot wait to unpack it with you. In fact, I love this topic so much that it's going to be a little bit different from every other episode in this series. And I will tell you why inside today's episode. So what do you say? Let's get started. Welcome to More Than a Milspouse, the podcast for military spouses who want to live with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of three, life coach, and your guide to intentionally designing a life you're excited about as a military spouse. I'm here to help you get the clarity you need so you can get unstuck and unlock your purpose and potential. Because you, my friend, are more than a milspouse. You have something valuable to offer. And when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Okay, first off, if you have not listened to any other episodes in this series, you are in for a treat today. All this summer, we are walking through the growth wheel, my signature tool for helping you transform your life as a military spouse. If you would like to download your own version of the growth wheel life assessment, you can access it by visiting my website or by clicking the link in the show notes below. You can also get on the wait list for one-on-one coaching with me. I am taking a break from coaching this summer as we are transitioning our family and getting settled into our new home. But if you are in this place where you are feeling stuck and you know that you need someone to help you work through whatever the issue that you are currently facing, you need someone who understands military life and can help you get a new perspective and develop some tools to get unstuck, I would love to help you do that. My passion is to help military spouses who want to step into a life of meaning and purpose without having to change your external circumstances. Just click on the Work With Me link in the show notes to get on the wait list, and I will let you know when I open up new coaching spots. Now, I told you that this episode is going to be a little bit different from every other episode in this series, and that's because there are a lot of life assessment tools out there, but I created the growth wheel as a tool specifically for military spouses. And one of the 10 areas for assessment in my tool is your home environment. And I've looked at a lot of assessments, and most of them do not have this area as an area for evaluation. But the more that I studied what keeps us stuck, what we spend time on, what impacts all the other areas of our life, home kept coming up over and over again. As a military family, we move a lot. We recreate home a lot. Home is what allows us to function in so many other areas of our life. It impacts almost every single area of our life. And I knew this needed to be an area for evaluation if we want to have a whole life. If we want to live our best life, then our home impacts that. And so when I created this tool, I knew this needed to be a specific topic. And all of the other areas of our life in this life assessment, I am sitting down with someone else to talk about each area. But this episode is not going to be an interview. It's not a dialogue. It is a solo episode. And that is because this is an area that I am particularly passionate about. Why? Home, number one, is one of our fundamental needs. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and he has this whole list of all of the needs that we have in life, one of our basic needs is our physical health and safety. And having a home gives us this sense of safety and belonging. We feel unsettled when we're in the middle of a PCS. When we've left one home, when we haven't got settled in our new place, we call ourselves, we're houseless. We know what that feels like to not have a place to call home, and we feel less safe when we don't have a place to call home. So home is a fundamental need for us. Home also matters because it impacts everything we do. A few years back, I read Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which is an entire book about home and about tidying your house. And in this book, she talks about the importance of home. She says, putting your house in order positively affects all other aspects of your life, including work and family. When we take care of home, that helps us be able to show up for all these other areas in life. I mean, I think you and I could both have a sense of understanding that when our home feels cluttered or disorganized, then our life feels disorganized, then our mind feels disorganized. It takes up brain space. If you listened a couple of weeks ago to my interview with Evie King, she talked about home and trying to work in a home that she doesn't enjoy, that she doesn't like, and how that impacts her. How when she has her bedside table and it's cluttered, that impacts her. And how she feels differently when she's taken time to clean her bedside table, and how that impacts her overall well-being. When our home is cluttered, we're distracted by what's going on in the home, and we cannot focus as well on what we truly want to focus on. And when we don't have the systems and routines in place to effectively manage our home, it causes us more stress and chaos. So our home is one of our fundamental needs, a safety need. Our home impacts everything we do, and our home is more than just a house. A home can be more than just a place we eat and sleep, or sometimes work. A lot of us work from home, or we are entrepreneurs, or we have a side hustle. We spend a lot of time in the place where we live. And so it has the potential to be the place where we just eat and sleep, or it has the potential to be a lot more than a house. We can make a house into a home, a place where we feel safety, where we feel belonging, where we have this sense of relaxation and peace. Our home can be a place where we feel encouraged, where we find rest, where we find hope, where we find belonging. But the fourth thing to keep in mind is that creating home, more than just having a roof over your head, that takes intentionality. I did a whole podcast, well, I guess I've done a couple of podcast episodes at this point about creating this sense of home. And one of the books I referenced in that episode was The Life-Giving Home, Creating a Place of Belonging and Becoming by Sally Clarkson and Sarah Clarkson. And in this book, she writes, all great works of life must be planned in order to make them productive, useful, and flourishing. In other words, home doesn't happen by accident. The more I plan for and cultivate home, the more I create space for flourishing, for a space that is life-giving to myself and to those around me. So that's why I feel like home is an important piece of the puzzle to really creating the life we want. Even in my conversation with Evie, she talked about our environmental health and knowing that the space that we are in, the space we are creating where we reside, that impacts our health and well-being. Now, we are all at different places when it comes to how we would rate ourselves at creating a sense of home. Some of us are currently houseless as we are listening to this episode. Maybe you're listening as you are driving across the country to PCS to your next location. As this episode is airing, I will be hopefully signing a lease and moving into our next home, which means that my focus over the next couple of months is just going to be getting our household goods delivered, getting the boxes unpacked, hanging the pictures on the wall, getting us settled and established, and setting things up so that we have this sense of home. Now, this is not my forever home. It's not the home that I would have chosen among a lineup of pictures. It's just the house that was available to rent without going way over our BAH. There were only a couple of rentals available that met the criteria we were looking for. So here we are. So even though this is a house that doesn't belong to me, it's not a house that I necessarily would have picked out. This is the house that I am going to be hopefully moving into as you're listening to this episode. And I am going to transform it into our home for however long we live here. So all of that to say that each of us are at a different place when it comes to what we need to cultivate home in this season. So you might be listening to this and you have recently PCS'd, or you might be living in a house that you've been in for 3, 4, 5 years, and what you need to cultivate home is something very different than what I am going to be focused on in the next few months. But what I wanted to do is give all of us a place to start from, because we're going to assess our sense of having a place that we feel that we can call home and begin to look at what could I do to grow in this area that will help me become who I want to be. And I want to give you 5 ideas of things that you can do to cultivate home. And it's I can't talk today. It's going to depend on where you are currently at and what season of life you are in. But the first thing for you to think about is practicing self-care. Seriously. Because we've talked about each of these 10 areas and how it's important to focus on these areas, but then how each of these life areas impacts all of the others. And our home environment impacts how we show up, but how we take care of ourselves impacts our home. Because our home is both a reflection of the people who live inside of it, and it is an opportunity to become whatever you want to make of it. A home can be a place of safety and security and encouragement and belonging, a place where we feel like we can be our authentic selves, where we can be seen and heard and known. that our home is going to reflect the people that live inside it. So if I am in a place where I feel stressed and overwhelmed, then I am not going to be cultivating a place of rest and relaxation, because how I am showing up will be reflected in my home. So if I want to cultivate home and a place of relaxation and authenticity, then I have to practice that in my own life. And to do that, I have to take care of myself. Because when I am spiritually, emotionally, and physically healthy, then I take care of my family well. I speak life to those who walk into our home. And this is true for all of us. Whether I am someone who works full-time outside the home, or whether I am a stay-at-home mom, or whether my spouse is deployed, or whether my children are babies or they're all the way grown, my home is going to be a reflection of me. And so this does not mean that I wait until I feel like I'm super healthy to open up my home, to create home. But it does mean that I need to be aware of how I am taking care of myself, because I need to practice self-care to be able to take care of my home well. The second thing that will help all of us, and if you haven't already done this, I highly recommend taking some time out to think through this idea. But it's to determine how you want your home to feel. Because, as I've said, a house can just be a house. It can be a place where you have a roof over your head and you can just sleep there and then be gone the rest of the time, if that's what you want. But it can also be something more. And I would encourage all of us to take some time, if you haven't, to think about how you want your home to feel. Not necessarily the way that you want it to look or the structure of the house you want to have or the size of the house that you want to have, but how you want home to feel. Because the first step to creating a space that we truly love and enjoy being in is to stop comparing ourselves with everyone around us, to stop dreaming about the forever home that we're going to have someday, maybe, and to think about the home where we currently are and how we want it to feel and what is available to us, what we can do right now to create that feeling. So no, you may not have a updated kitchen. No, you may not have the size of the house you want, but how do you want your house to feel, and how can you cultivate that feeling today? Every single month I sit down and I ask myself, did I cultivate a life-giving home for myself and others? And so I have taken the time to say, okay, I want my home to be a life-giving home. And what does that mean to me? And what actions do I need to take to create that feeling? So all of this starts with taking the time to think about how you want your home to feel. The third thing that might be the thing that you need to do is to stop waiting to decorate your home. We wait because we want to have the things that we see on Instagram, or we want to be able to buy the right piece of furniture, or we want to wait till we're in the forever home, or we want to wait till we feel settled, or we're going to be somewhere a certain length of time. I know the longer that you are in the military, the longer I have been a military spouse, the harder this has gotten, because every time you move, you got to do it again. You got to start over. I feel this so much in my bones. But I also know that when I have taken the time to make this space into a space that I love, it impacts my emotional, my mental well-being, how much I feel at home, even when it's not a duty station that I necessarily love. We've moved a lot. We had 2 houses in a row where we were only in the house for 9 or 10 months each. And then we've had 3 Oconus PCSs in the last 4 years. And with each move, we're without most of our household goods for 3 or 4 months. And that means I'm living without my stuff. And then I only have my stuff for a certain amount of time. For one of those moves, we only had our belongings for 18 months out of the 2 years that we were there. And so sometimes it's easier to say, oh, I'll just leave that in boxes. Oh, I won't put curtains up, or I won't hang pictures on the wall because we're just going to have to take them down and ship them all off. Or I'm not going to take the time to paint this wall, even though I hate it, because it's going to be time and energy, and I'm not going to be here that long. I've heard this same conversation over and over again, but I know that every time I take the time to create a space that makes the best of the space that we have, then I feel so much more at peace with where I live. And this is not about spending a lot of money to create a beautiful space. I will link a couple of episodes in the show notes where I talked about decorating on a budget. I will also link some other resources to help you if you want to make your home a beautiful home. You don't have to spend a lot of time and money and energy, but stop waiting to decorate your home. Stop waiting to make that space feel like home. Every time I invest in making my space beautiful, making it my own, creating the feeling that I want, the better I feel about where we live. Now, the fourth thing that might be the thing that is yours to focus on. Let's say you've been in the same house for 7 years. I cannot fathom that at this point, but I know several people that are there, and if you do not move all the time, then it becomes so much easier to not go through everything in your house. And we are constantly accumulating more stuff. My kids bring home trinkets from friends' houses, from school, from all the parties that they go to all the time. And I'm constantly like, where is all this stuff coming from? How is it accumulating so quickly? And how do I declutter this? So if you have not taken time to go through your closets and your drawers and your cabinets in the kitchen, it is not always fun to do, but it makes home function so much more smoothly and easily and effectively when everything has a place. So taking time to declutter and make sure that everything has a place makes a big difference. And then last but not least, number 5, setting up rhythms and routines that help you stay on top of your home. And the more that I have tried to get to the root of all of my scheduling conflicts and all of my challenges to staying on top of the home, whether I have somebody that I've been able to hire to help me clean it or whether I'm cleaning the house myself, all of it comes down to our systems and our rhythms and routines. And this is why it is so tough when I am in the middle of an overseas move, because I don't have all the things that I need to maintain the routines that I know work well for our family. And so the more that we take time to develop daily, weekly, monthly rhythms to take care of our space, to manage our home and how we function in it, the more that allows us the space to make this a place of becoming, of belonging, of rest and relaxation. So we need these rhythms and routines. And unfortunately, every time we move, I've got to recreate those rhythms and routines and figure out what works for me. And this was one of the things that I had noticed particularly the last time that we PCS'd. And there is a girl that I follow, her podcast, and she specifically talks about systems for the home. And it was so refreshing. Her name is Chelsea Jo Moore, and her podcast is called Systemize Your Life. But it was so refreshing when she moved last year, and she's been talking about systems and routines and structure for like 4 years now. And then it was her first move in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And she was like, oh, like this was a lot. And I'm like, yes. And I do this every couple of years. We military spouses do this a lot. We have to rebuild those rhythms and routines. So maybe you're looking at your life, your structure, you're having trouble keeping on top of everything in the house, and it goes back to not having the systems and rhythms and routines that you need to stay on top of it. So 5 things that might not be something that you are struggling with, or it might be the exact issue that would help you grow in this area. So number 1, are you practicing self-care? Number 2, have you taken the time to figure out how you want your house to feel? Number 3, are you waiting to decorate your home? Number 4, have you taken the time to declutter your home? And number 5, do you have rhythms and routines to help you stay on top of managing your home? What is it that spoke to you from this list? I would love to hear about it. Just jump inside our free community, share what spoke to you from this episode, what your next step to grow is going to be in this area. And I will share a few of my favorite resources there to help you in the process of cultivating home. Next week, I will be back as we move into talking about transforming the relationships in our lives. You are not going to want to miss next week's episode. One of the most downloaded episodes in the history of the podcast was an interview that I did with Dr. Lindsay Kavanaugh early on in the podcast talking about military marriage. And Lindsay is coming back on the show to talk about investing in your relationship with your partner, and specifically what that looks like if you have. We're going to be talking about how to invest in your relationship without waiting on your partner to be able to go to marriage counseling, how having kids changes the marriage relationship, and specific things you can do to create a healthy marriage in your own marriage. You will not want to miss that. Until then, my prayer is that you are able to navigate whatever it is that you are walking through in this moment, living filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey, amazing Milspouse. Before you go, I want you to know that I love hearing from you. The More Than a Milspouse community exists to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and empower you to live with purpose and impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. But your impact doesn't stop there. You can empower those around you simply by sharing an episode with a friend or neighbor, someone who needs a little encouragement in this military life. And if this episode was meaningful to you, spread the love by taking a screenshot of this episode and tagging me on Instagram so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together. Together, we can change the world. Let's do it.